It's 10 a.m. in Western Europe. I think it's time to start. I see a thumbs up, so I suppose I am being heard. We tested everything. Anyway, welcome to this session. We'll have several parts. I just want to briefly show like the entry point if you're interested in Fontra to try it out yourself. Go to Fontra XYZ, where the most resources are directly available. There's a documentation site that we can that you can look for. I will very briefly go there. Like there's it's a work in progress, but there's a lot of information available already. If you're interested in the development or sources, or want to ask a question, or want to open a bug report, or post a feature request, then the GitHub repository is a good place. Downloading for macOS and Windows, we have ready-made binaries. We have a Discord server for more real-time questions, and we even have a dedicated email address. Anyway, I will start. So that was the introduction for the introduction, and I will now start with a more proper introduction. This is an outline of today's session. I present to you 3 accents. We have a Dutch accent, we have a German accent, and a French accent.
May I interrupt you for a second? We only see loading.
How interesting. Okay. So do you see my slides?
Yeah, this works.
Okay, but if I do slideshow, now you see nothing?
There's only a term loading and dot.
Interesting. Okay, well, okay, I will go back. I will then just use the slides in edit mode. How about that?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. So I have today 2 co-presenters, Olli Meier near Berlin, Gaëtan Baehr of blackfoundry in Paris. I will start with some bullet points regarding the current features, new features. We'll move over to some live demos. And at the end, there will be some questions and answers. The whole session is planned to last an hour. It will be recorded and posted to YouTube, maybe even later today. Previous sessions can also be seen. Anyway, yeah, an overview of the kind of things we've worked on. We have some new tools. We have a knife tool and a shape tool. We can draw a rectangle or an oval. The knife tool is to slice shapes. We have some new editor features, such as interactive scale and rotate. We have a new close contour or joint contours functionality. We have support for anchors. We have a feature where we can lock a glyph as a gentle reminder that maybe this glyph should not be edited. We worked on some new panels. There's a sources panel, a sources page where we can define the styles in a family, like the regular bolt, in an interpolatable system. So where we can also edit the line metrics, aka the vertical metrics, such as ascender, descender, cap height, etc. For each style, each source, and some more information. We have a brand new shortcuts panel where many things can receive a custom shortcut. So the number of shortcuts that Fontra offers by default is rather sparse, but you can manipulate this now to a large extent. There's still some areas under construction where we need some entry points, but the most important things you can define your own shortcuts for the tools, for any sidebars, and all the editor appearance layers. Olli will also show about, well, if we have time, I think we have a method to assign a development status to a glyph, or to even a specific source in a glyph. So for more easier tracking of development, like what state is this glyph in? Is it being sketched out? Has it been fully designed? Has it been proofed? Has it been, etc. The statuses and associated colors can be defined by yourself. Other things we've worked on, there's several new sidebars. We have powerful transformation options, like the usual move, scale, rotate, and skew. align and distribute objects, and path operations. Then we have a new sidebar about related glyphs and characters. There's a sidebar about you can add a little note to a glyph that you can edit. Another big thing is that we started to have the user interface language to be translatable. We currently have, by default, we're English, but we have a 90% complete simplified Chinese translation. We are open to contributions for other languages, but the process to do this will have to be made a little easier. Currently, there's just some files in the source code where that need to be edited. Anyway, let's see. This is more a bit of a teaser item. We have a whole subsystem that we call Fontra Workflow, which is a kind of a library and or a command line tool that allows us to. It's a source level font pipeline where we can merge the several fonts together. We can manipulate glyphs. We can scale things. Everything is described in YAML files. Things like component decomposition, we can do instantiating and slicing all at the source level, variable access manipulation, and in the end it hooks into FontMake and also to some extent in FontC, the new Rust-based font compiler that's under development by Google Fonts. So yeah, this kind of deserves its own session at some point, and definitely more documentation and explanation of what this is. We already use it in some production environments within blackfoundry, but it's not completely feature complete for all purposes. Anyway, yeah, this was my intro. I will start, before I hand over the screen to Olli, I will do a little demo of a new panel that we call Related Glyphs and Characters. It is here under this little icon on the right-hand side, Related Glyphs and Characters. You need to select, so I chose, I've just opened a fairly average, mostly Latin retail font from blackfoundry, a Gitto. If you select a glyph, you get relationships, and we have 4 categories of relationships. First off, it looks for glyphs that have the same glyph name but with a different extension. So here we find under this section alternative glyphs. Every section can be folded, unfolded. So here in this particular font, we have 4 other glyphs that have the same base glyph. So if I double click on a cell, then I get to see the alternates available for this one. So it will find the base one. Let me go back to the proper one. Alternate glyphs is one relationship. The other relationship is that we look at Unicode decomposition information. Like the whole Unicode database has information like if a character can be represented as a sequence of other characters, then that kind of information, like for instance, the 1/4 Unicode character is decomposed into a 1 and a slash and a 4. And here we see that these characters will be that this character will be one of the decomposed elements from this character. And so this we can kind of, the ones that are gray are not defined in this font, but here these fractions are defined here. But if I double click here, then I go to the actual glyph, and we see here some other information, because we also get information about components. So this glyph is made out of 3 components. So the component, the 1 numerator, the fraction, and the 4 numerator. But in terms of character decomposition, we see kind of the same information, almost the same information. Well, it's not quite the same. These are literally the components as defined in the font. So this is based on glyph information, components, and this is again Unicode information. So, for instance, if I double click here, then we see other characters. We can kind of navigate around. So, like this one that is not defined in this font, but would be would decompose to parentheses. etc. And here, like if I go to the parentheses, we can see all kinds of other Unicode characters that are used with, that are generally made with parentheses, including Asian characters. So we can kind of play around. A fun thing to mention, since Fontra is a browser-based application, it tries to leverage the functionality for browser. We can actually use the back and forward button to go back to the previously selected test text. So I'm now going back to, well, for instance here, I wanted to go to a component, because what I didn't yet show is the opposite. Like once we are in a glyph that is being used as a component, we see here within the font, these are the glyphs that actually use this particular character as a component. Let's do this, for instance, with the lowercase a. So here is the lowercase a, and within the font, let me close this one for now. These are the glyphs within this font that use the a as a component. Similarly, so here again, this would be Unicode information, similar but not identical. Like either we look at the glyph level, what is defined within the font, or what is what kind of relationships exist within Unicode. So this also goes again both ways, etc., etc. A useful aspect. I'm just switching to a different font now. Like for instance, this is a Chinese and Japanese font under development. This particular character is made out of two components. But for instance, if I go to this component, I will see, and it takes a little while because it's a big font, but it will see all the characters or the glyphs that actually use this particular component. So we can kind of like, we can navigate around. Let's find another one. Like for instance, this is another component. Well, there's only a handful of these, etc., etc. Maybe this is a more common one. So we'll see kind of the relationships here. Okay, that actually already concludes my demo here. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we'll hand the screen to Olli Meier. I was going to say in Berlin, but he's near Berlin. Please come, welcome, open your mic and your screen, and let's see if we can hear you. So Olli is also a developer on the Fontra team. We have a very small team. So Olli, take it away with
Hello.
your demo.
So I expect you can hear me. I'm Olli Meier. For those of you who don't know me, I have seen already a few of my friends in the audience. So hi to you. Nice to see you. I will give you an introduction to a few new features and tools today. Because the time is limited, we won't be able to show you all the new stuff we have been working on. But as Just already mentioned, we have a documentation, and we try every now and then to update the documentation and also record some short demo videos and share it with you and others. So this is just a few of the items. Let's start with new tools. So at the top, we see a new tool, which is the knife tool, and also a shape tool. And the knife tool is almost self-explaining, right? So when we click in here, let's go, for example, to the H. We can slice it. The good thing about it is we can, for example, hold Shift, and then it rotates in 45 degrees and make it shorter. And when we have an open contour, let's break this one here, we can break the contour. So with the knife tool. Let's go to another character. For example, C. And the good thing about the knife tool also is, which is probably the best feature of that, is that it also works in multi-source editing. So when we are here in the C and we click here to the multi-source editing mode, we see all the other characters in the background with a nice blue outline here. And let's imagine we want to short this part here. So shorten the endings here. We can do this, and now you see it's through all the different layers. And now we can, for example, move it around or delete it. So the knife tool also works in multi-source editing. It also works with more complex glyphs. So let's go to, for example, the Roboto Flex. Here we see, by the way, true type outlines or quadratic outlines. And now when we slice it in here, that's easy. But this is even more complex. And when you went to, for example, not all the difference, then it breaks it. And this is expected, right? Because we did not went through the whole part. And now it's going to be crazy. We have so many different layers. And when we do the multi-source editing, and now let's imagine we want to shorten this ending here. We can do this. So slice it in here. And now go back, and we see that it's cut it all over through all the different layers. And now when we select this part, we can remove it, and it's gone for all the different layers. That's great, right? So that's the knife tool. Let's continue with the next, which is the shape tool. The shape tool, let's create a demo character. Here is the rectangle tool, and when you hold click, you get to the ellipse tool. Let's start with this. Simply draw a rectangle. That's easy, but we have also modifiers like the shift, then we get a square. When we hold Alt, then it goes from the middle, and there's a different modifier key as well. So when we hold the Command key, it reversed the contour. And this is probably helpful when we go and draw, for example, an O. Let's draw an O, a very bad O, and reverse the contour. So we have now a very bad looking O. Of course, this also works in multi-source editing. You can draw this in all different layers. We have only one here, but let's copy this. And now we have here all different layers. Remove this and draw an O, a bad looking O. And now we have this bad looking O in all different layers. That's almost everything about the shape tool. It's a very basic tool, right? Let's continue with a new panel. This is here on the right side, the selection transformation. Here we have different sections. So there is a part where you can specify the origin, also move, scale, rotate, screw, flip. Then there's an align objects part, distribute objects, and path operations. I will now start with the align objects, even though this is the second part, because we have our bad looking O. And let's try to center that. So we can select everything and now center it here and also in the other direction. And now it's centered. A little bit better. So what else can we do? There is this origin. When we scale it, for example, let's make it a little less, and we want to scale it from the bottom. So we have here our overshoot, and we want to scale it down. Let's say 80%. Now it's smaller. We can also do it just in one direction. So oh, that's the wrong one. So here 80 and here 100, and now scale it down. But we can also do it without these, we have here an interactive transformation. So we can also scale it, yeah, interactively. Or here and here. And by the way, I have everything made in multi-source editing. So it's done all over the place. So another thing about the align objects, a very helpful part, I think, is when we, for example, add an anchor. So let's say it's a top anchor. We have here now a misplaced anchor. This anchor has a name, right? But it's not visible right now. We have here a section with the appearance. By the way, this will move to a different place, which is already here, and we will keep both for a while. But we will remove this whole section, this gear section, I don't know, in a few weeks or something. But let's keep it, no, let's start with this here. So, because this is the future. Here we see anchor names, and now we see our anchor names. And we can now select, for example, these 2 points and say, align it in here. Or if we have, let's go to a different character, for example, the H. And you want to move it in between these. Let's start with this, and I want to move it down, and now center it with this object, and now it's centered in here. That's, I guess, everything you need to know about the alignment. Play with this, have fun. So the other things here is, for example, rotate, also very self-explaining. Now it moves here from this part. When we want to rotate it in a different origin, we can specify the origin somewhere else, or here, or from the center, and so on. Let's take another character. Now we want to flip the whole character. Let's imagine you want to use the A for your V character, and you want to flip the whole thing. Again, we are in multi-source editing. We can select this one and flip it. Now it's in the center. We can also flip it in a different part, but as we want to have it as a V, we can flip it and, for example, remove this part, and now we have our V for all different sources in all different layers. Okay, that's about it about that. Then let's go to this demo character. We have also this distribute objects. We can have, let's mess around. We have these objects, we want to align them, and now make the same distance in between. Let's make it even more obvious. So that's now very close to the other, and make it the same distance. It's like this. If we want to be very precise and we want to have always 10 units, we can enter 10 units and then specify this, or make it even 0, and then it's this way. That's about the distribute objects. The next thing is, or let me demonstrate one part with the rotation and origin I missed, actually. So let's start with another nice circle. Let's say we want to rotate from a specific origin here, and at another guideline at 90 degrees. This is just for visualization. So I want to rotate around this part. Let's move this in here, for example, and now select everything, and we specify the origin at 250, 250. Now you see this is gone, and it will use these parts. And let's rotate it with 36 degrees. And now it rotates around this specific point. Okay, the next part is the last part of this panel is path operations. For path operations, let's go back to H. That's a nice simple shape. And just for better visualization, let's remove the multi-source editing. When we select everything in here and we click this remove overlaps, it will remove all overlaps. This works also with multi-source editing. Oh, I broke the compatibility, of course, because I have here this anchor. So let's remove it. Now everything is compatible again. And we can select everything and remove the overlaps. And now the overlaps are gone for all different layers. Let's undo it. And there's also subtract and intersect and exclude. For the other parts, you need to think in 2 layers, basically. So we have, when we subtract, for example, we have the selected layer and the not selected layer. And the selected is basically on top of the other. So when I select this and click this button, then it removes it from both of them. When I select these 2 items, it will remove it only from the other. This is then also the case for intersect and also for exclude. What is nice about this is there again an example. So let's go to the R and select this part and copy it in here. So now I have the selected R, which is a thin version, and the unselected R in the background, basically. And now I can subtract, and we have this nice new glyph. Only with a few clicks, right? Okay, undo or remove. That's fine. Yeah, that's it about the this panel here. So I showed you already the interactive transformation. About the interactive transformation is one information which is also helpful is that it includes a rotate functionality. So you can rotate it here. And this depends on which handle you actually take, then it rotates from the opposite side. So when you're here, this rotates. If you click on the handle, then you can scale it. This also works with components. So when you have selected a component, you can scale it, you can rotate it, and there's also a modifier key, the Alt, then it rotates in the center. And again, everything works in multi-source editing, so we can rotate the whole thing. When you hold even the shift, then it rotates in 45 degrees. So we now turned it on upside down, and it's for all different layers as well. What else? Okay, that's about the transformation part. We have now also some other parts you have seen the last time already, font info and axes. And now we have sources and status definitions. Let's go into sources. And sources, I will just briefly give you an introduction here because Gaëtan will show you how to actually create one. So just a very brief information about that. You can expand it here. You can rename your source, which is similar to a master probably, and specify your locations. And also it has line metrics. Let's make this here a little bit less, so you see the modifications. So when we change, for example, the ascender to 1000, you see it changes the vertical metrics in the background, and it's also compatible. So when you switch here, you see that the ascender changes. You can change also the overshoot, for example. Let's make it very extreme. Like 60, and now you see that it has changed immediately. Again, so Gaëtan will go into detail here. No need to explain this more. We have status definitions. Status definitions is helpful for you to organize your project. Here, again, I will make it a little bit less. You can add default colors. You can rename it, you can specify a specific color if you like, and there's a default one. The default one is then if nothing is specified, and you see already that this is red. Let's go in here and say this A is actually valid, so it changes to green. If you don't want to see these colors anymore, you can hide them or show them. Okay, another interesting and new feature we have is, so let's make it bigger again, is here in Fontra, we see shortcuts and server information. This will grow. We are on the way to add even more items, which are currently located here. So like the clipboard display language, as mentioned at the beginning, long term, we will remove this whole section, and these items will move to different places. And one of them is here. So you see server information, and server information is here. And this is now stored in here. But I wanted to show you actually the shortcuts area. When you click in here, you have the shortcuts specified by default. And you can specify even visualization. For example, the development status. And okay, let's continue here. You can reset the whole thing. Let's imagine you have the rectangle R and ellipse to O. Then go to your panel. And when I now click R, I have my rectangle. If I click O, I get my ellipse tool. And this is the way how you can specify your custom shortcuts. When you want to share it with a different person, this is also possible. You can export it as a JSON file. Let's now reset everything. And you see the R and O is gone. We can then import the shortcuts you have made. And then it's again part of it. So if you want to have the shortcuts from a friend, export it and import it into your file. And yeah, that's it. I guess I'm at the end of my time. I would love to demo you even more, but yeah, as mentioned, the time is limited. So
Thank you,
have a
Olli.
look.
Thank you. That's been a great overview. Indeed, we have to move on to Gaëtan in the meantime. Sorry, I interrupted you. There was one thing you wanted to say, maybe?
Just again, have a look to the documentation.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Gaëtan Baehr from Paris, blackfoundry's award-winning star designer. He is a power user of Fontra. He's he is not a developer on the Fontra project, but is an experienced user. Has contributed some parts of the design, UI design to Fontra, etc. Are you ready, Gaëtan?
I'm ready. Do you hear me well?
Yes, I do, and I assume the rest as well. Take it away. Thanks.
Okay, so let's go. So for this demo, I will try to demo what Olli just demo, but with more in more context. I mean, I will try to write the word Fontra in a copperplate style with just a single variable component. So the idea is to create, we start with a component like this. To create a glyph, you can double click on a first type / type the name of your glyph, and then double click on the canvas and click on create, and you have your glyph. But here you see there is no source font source. So there is no vertical matrix. In order to add them, we go in font and sources here, and new font sources. By default, now in Fontra, we will have a default source when we create a new project, but just to demo how to create a source, I remove it. So I will create the default here, add it, and I have my default with italic angles and then the vertical matrix. 875, excite, etc. I can change it, for instance, 600 here. And when we go back here in Fontra, in the canvas view, we have the vertical matrix. For this component, as I said, it will be a copper plate style. So I will start by drawing with the shape tool an ellipse like this. But for the component, I will only keep the bottom of the ellipse. So I can select these points, right-click on them, and break contour here, and then double-click on the top part and remove it. So I have my shape here. I can copy it, paste it on place, and then move it by 10 units to create the weight. And go back here and close the contour. So to close the contour, there is two strategies. The first one, we can just select a contour, and then with a pen tool, click on the other point, and it will close. And the second one is to select both points and right-click and go in close one contour. So now I have my semi-ellipse shape made here. Can modify a bit the weight. And the idea is to make it as variable components. So there will be a local axis for these glyphs that can control different things. For instance, we can have one axis to control the weight on the left side and one axis to control the weight on the right side. So in order to create axes on the glyph, you have here in the design space navigation panel, you have glyph axes, and you click on the edit glyph axis icon and create a new axis. So weight left. Sorry, by default 10, minimum 10, by default 10, and we will go to 100. And I will create another one, weight right, the same 10, 10, and 100. No, I'm sorry. Now I have to create two sources that will be linked to this axis. So first source, in Glyph source panel, we can click on the plus and add weight left and create now a weight left here. So we created a variation on this glyph. Then we'll do the same for the weight right, new axis, left 10 and right 100. I add it and I move it here. If you want to be sure which dimension, width we have, you can select the contour and look at the dimension. Here we have 100 and 0. I can maybe move this a little bit up. 3. So now we have a variable component like this. I can already apply it in a letter, so I will type the O letter, create it. And in the O letter, right-click and add component. I will add a compo here. Then I can copy-paste, flip it, and move it on the top, like this. And since it's a variable component, I can select it, and in the info panel here, you will have the logo, the variation of your selected component. So I can move the weight like this, select the other one. Since it's rotated, I need to play with the weight right. But I want to do a copper plate style, so the idea is to be slanted. I will slant everything by 30 degree. For this, we go in transformation panel, we select the contour, and we can go in deep edition mode and skew it by 30 degree, like this. Then, if we look at the shape, we need to fine-tune a little bit this part. So I can move it, but just disable the scaling edit tool behavior, so it's not re-interpolated the handle, the location of the handle. And I will fine tune my O like this. Okay, and then I can copy this element, paste it here to make the connection with the other letters. But for the connection, I want to have this part that is correctly aligned, exactly aligned on the middle of the letter. So for this, I have to add new axes on the variable component to control the height. So first I create two new axes, height left. By default, it will be 100. And the same height right, and by default, 100. So in my component, now I can create two new sources, one for the left height, and I select this part and move it down. Same for the right height. Select this part and move it down. Can go back to the O, and now it's automatically updated in the components. We have two new axes sorted alphabetically, and I can play with both like this to control a bit more. But I want to be exactly on the middle. For this, I will add a guideline and set it. I think the X height is 600, so I put 300 like this. So I have my guideline here, and I can align like this my component and move it a little bit here. Now with the O, we will do the letter A. So I copy my glyph. I just select my glyph here, copy and paste it on the A, and I will retrieve everything. Just make the spacing quickly. I will put 0 on the right, 0 on the right, and then it will be negative spacing here, something like this, okay? And for the A, I will move this part down, so I have a transformation here in Y, and I can put it as 0. It will be done exactly on the baseline. The right height I can increase a little bit, maybe I can decrease a little bit the left height, and I need to add a stem. So to add a stem, I will go back to my component and create two new axes to control, to be able to create a stem on the left or on the right part. So it will be stem left, 0, 0, 100, it's okay, and stem right, like this. But in order to create the stem, I need to add 2 more points on this segment and 2 more points on this segment. To add points, you can go select the pen tool here, and when you overlap a segment, you have a blue circles that allow you to create a point. But I will do it with the deep addition mode, so it will add the point in all the sources like this. And then I want to overlap them with the extreme point. But for this, I will just disable the weight left. So I modify every sources except the weight left. And then I go to the weight left and do the same operation here. I can do the same for the right part, deep addition mode. Pick up 2 points, disable the weight right, and overlap the point like this. And then I can create a source for the stem left and one source for the stem right. So I am in the stem left now. I can select this element, move it up like this. And I want to be exactly aligned with the angle. For this, there is 2 strategies as well. We can add a guideline and put an angle here, 60 degree, and move it here like this. And then select these points, move them on the right, and it's done. And for the right part, I will do another strategy. So a new source, select this element, up, move it up, and then I will run the points here, make them smooth, and select all of this part. Just need to disable the scaling edit tool. Select all of this part, and with the transformation tool, I can put the origin on the bottom left and skew it like this. So now we have on this component 2 stems, 2 axes that can reveal a stem. So I can increase this, and I have my A. With this A, we will do the N. So I will copy the A in the N. Just do the spacing. So here it's 0. Here we put 0 as well. In the A, in this N, I mean, I will remove this part. Here I will just flip the weight. So enable this axis and remove this axis. Move it on the left. Move this element a bit on the right. I can copy, paste it like this. Okay, so I have the ends that start to be shaped. Add a stem here, not stem, sorry. It's not this one, it's this one. Add a stem here. And maybe I can make it a little bit shorter here. Add a bit of stem here. Up like this, and remove this stem here like this. So I have the hand, but if we look at this, maybe the spacing is too wide here, so we need to add maybe a new axis to control the width of the ellipse. So I will go here and create 2 new axes, width left from 0, 100, and 100, and the same with right. 100, okay. And create source like this for the left, and move this element with the scaling edit tool. Move this element on the left, and I will do the same for the right. So I can go back on my N, and now I have 2 new axes, width and right, and width left and width right, and I can control this to have a better spacing in between the letter. Move everything on the left. Reset the spacing. So I have O now, and with the N I can create now the letter R. Copy it, paste it here, remove this element, and I have the R, basically. Maybe I can make it a bit shorter here, control a little bit the width as well, and then make a bit of spacing. Like this, a bit more. With the A, we can do the P, like this. Remove these 2 parts. Remove these 2 parts. And then we can add a bit more stem here, change the spacing. And for the horizontal bar, I will do it with contour, so I can go with a shape tool for the square rectangle and draw my rectangle here. Control the weight, I have 11, I want to have something like 9, for instance. And with the R, we can do the F as well, like this, copy it. Remove the left part, and I will put the weight on both sides for this element. Move it up. Maybe I can remove a little bit here, and I will add the stem on the left side with a descender. Why not? Ooh, my stem is a bit weird. There is something wrong I made, I think, somewhere. It should be exactly parallel. What did I do? Okay, anyway. And so I have my F here, and I can add the horizontal bar like this here. And just to end up this demonstration, we can, there is a message. And right. And to end up this demonstration, someone raised a hand. I will add a font axis to add a weight axis to this design. So you can go in font axis, new axis, and you will have predefined preset, or you can rename them and create your own preset. But weight for me is fine. From 100, 400, and maximum, I will put 400 as well. And then on the letter, we can go on weight 100, create a source for this, and select my component and define the weight I want. For instance, 50 here, 50 as well. And for the stem, it will be 45. Can do it up. And for the end, the same, create the source, 45, 45. The T, I will do the same, 45. Do a bit of spacing. The N, 45, we'll copy this value. I need to create the source first. 45, 45, same here. Just realign my components. And the spacing 0 here. For the O, 45 with the source first. 45 as well. 50 for the round part. And for the F, a new source. Stem right. Oops, not this. This weight 45 and 45. Like this. And now I have this variable fonts, Fontra, in copperplate style with a single variable component. And if we want to fine-tune a bit more, for instance, in the N, we can have weird overlap here. So we can, anytime with depletion mode, decompose my two components here, select them, and then remove overlap with a pass operation here and remove the extra point. And it's still compatible. So yeah, that's about it for this demonstration. I will let Just continue.
Thank you, Gaëtan. That's really amazing. Thank you so much. Where were we then? Yeah, we're close to the end of the session. I was going to talk very briefly about what we're going on. So Olli already mentioned we're like the gear tab will disappear. Those settings will go to other places. There's still some core features missing, such as background layer, background image. We need to work on. Did I share my screen? I did not. Just a second, guys. I have to make at least one super beginner mistake at every presentation. So my slide about what's next. So core features that are missing: background layers, background image, kerning we're working on. We will work on a font overview. Then in the Fontra pack application, we want to make available export as TTF, OTF, but also a duplicate as function. So yeah, we're also working on a new collaborative system where hopefully people can create accounts and then work together. That's a bit longer off. I mean, we're good on track with prototyping that, but it will be a while before that's going to be available. In a way, I think, so for the people who joined later and are fairly new to Fontra, we have a website, fontra.xyz, which shows which is the starting point. We have links to downloads, links to documentation, link to our Discord, links to our GitHub, etc. So I would love to open the floor for questions while we have still a few minutes. I think Jeremy, in the background, our moderator, is trying to add everyone as contributors. but if you cannot, so please feel free to write in the chat. But if you cannot, then that's an oversight. We have to turn you into a contributor. So please raise your hand, click the hand button, and then we can add you to the chat. So if anyone has a question, and I think once you're a contributor, you can even open your microphone if you want. I think that's what we tried before. So anyone, questions? Don't be shy. Okay, well, after Gaëtan's demo, I'm also a little bit flustered because that was a very nice one, I must admit. Okay, Nicolas raised a hand. Let's participate. Or is it already? You should be. Right. Yeah, I think you are a contributor. Free to talk or to. The question from Nicolas is: are variable components safe to UFO design space? Yes, they are. We have a document that describes how that's done. It's pretty much there's lib data. It's, especially at a larger scale, it's not very efficient, but our toolchain, the Fontra workflow toolchain, has this filter to kind of decompose variable components even across font axes. In addition to that, we have a work in progress internal format called .fontra, which is a JSON and CSV based collection of files. In some ways it's similar to UFO in that it's a folder of stuff. In other ways it's similar to the Glyphs package format in that it's a folder of stuff, but every glyph is represented as a single JSON file, as opposed to like many glyph files as a UFO design space system would be. So while this is not yet a stable thing, we intend to document it and to start using it. It's already fully supported for reading and writing, and therefore also works in the Fontra workflow pipeline. Anyway, good question. Anyone else? Yes. Okay, that's nice to hear. Someone from Indonesia writing Fontra as their first program to help me study type design. Thank you for thanking us. We'll try to make it better for entry-level people as well. So yeah, the tool has evolved in the context of actual work at blackfoundry for some really high level stuff. So sometimes we have certain features that are really targeted towards power users, and sometimes even to specific needs of our projects. And that means that some of the features that are more targeted towards beginners are perhaps a bit lacking. So like we really desperately want background layers, and especially background image. I mean, the educators ask me all the time, hey, when can we import an image in the background so people can trace a drawing? So that's obviously something we want to support and will support hopefully soon. Anyway, are there more questions? We're nearing the end of the session. I mean, potentially we have time to run over if people have questions, but okay, another question from Nicolas. Do you envision Fontra to be used in a work group setting, central server, multiple people log in? Yes. Well, so we have an internal system where we have something that actually works, that is somewhat limited in scope, and I mean the software that we use for that. So let me read the question: do you envision Fontra to be used in a workgroup setting, central server with multiple people log in? Maybe I already did. So we are in the process of building something like that is more accessible, that has somewhat better design on the server side. So yeah, keep an eye on what we're doing. At the same time, we're developing ideas of how we can integrate maybe Git repositories into Fontra, so that it's like one idea that we're having, and we're kind of struggling figuring out how to do it technically, although there are all kinds of options, that you would that there would be a Fontra server where you would log in with your GitHub credentials, that you would maybe clone a repository that has font data directly in Fontra, that you could then make edits in Fontra and create a pull request, all integrated. So those ideas exist, and we are very open to such things and eager to make it. However, these are serious projects and are not done in a week. So we'll have to kind of balance our time regarding our internal things. More questions. Someone raised a hand. I hope that person was let in the meantime. So yeah, more questions. Okay, so Joseph asks, I'm looking to start out with this and would appreciate an outlook on how the advanced drawing features will compare to Glyphs, etc. Well, yeah, that's always a bit of a loaded question. On the one hand, we want Fontra to be a complementary tool, that you can use it side by side to either RoboFont or Glyphs. Fontra can read Glyphs files, but by the way, also it can read TTF and OTF. At the moment, you will get them presented as read-only fonts. We will soon add in Fontra Pack a button like duplicate as that will convert it to either Design Space or .fontra, so you can actually edit. While we do want powerful drawing tools, we kind of have our own, we will listen to our own users. I think, Jeremy, you're probably behind Social Black. Please take it over.
I wanted to mention for these advanced drawing features that may come, that there will be a plugin mechanism where advanced features could be added externally to the Fontra base features.
And as a general principle, if larger parties are interested in having a certain feature implemented, then we are totally open for donation or like work on contract. Like if you as a company need such and such feature, we're totally willing and able to do that as work, of course. So if you are willing to either donate or be a sponsor, we totally welcome contributions like that. We can make. Please talk to us if you have wishes like that. So while Fontra is, we publish it as an open source, it's GPL3 licensed. Still, we are not working on it for free. So the funding must come from somewhere. So if like I said, if you are a larger company and you want something to happen, then please talk to us. There might be options. I'm not sure what to say more about. Like our goal is not to copy everything that Glyphs does or to copy everything that RoboFont does. We have our own visions of how we think things should work, and of course, we are like about 10 years behind both of those tools. So while we have ambitions and we want this to become a very good tool, we are not. It's not our purpose to drive any other font editors out of the market at all. It's like a complementary tool, and to some extent, copy paste between the tools will work. This works a little better, for instance, between RoboFont. You can actually RoboFont and Fontra can work side by side. You can have the same project open in both tools at the same time, and changes will get reflected. One thing I keep forgetting to mention. Fontra does not have a save button. Saves are immediate and automatic. So that's in that sense, it feels more like a web application, even if you're running it locally with the Fontra app application, Fontra Pack application. Right, I think we should round it off. Thanks everyone for attending. Okay, final question: when do I expect basic features to be complete? Yeah, like things like background layers and background image, that should be the next few months. It's a bit hard to say. Because development is also informed by our ongoing projects.
And it also depends what you define as basic features.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Relative, I guess, to users.
Yeah.
So there are quite a lot of basic features already. More basic features will be added, definitely. But if you have a priority list, we are all ears, and you can also post issues or comments on the GitHub repository, feature request, things like that.
If you go to the repository, our README file contains a very simple form of a roadmap. If you think there's any basic feature that is not listed in the roadmap, I mean, the roadmap doesn't say like when things will be done, but it does say which things are there and which things are still missing. So please have a look there at our roadmap. And like we said, we have a Discord server where you can ask questions. We also, the discussions feature on the GitHub repository is also enabled. You can ask questions there, but you can also just open issues with bugs or feature requests. Or if it's a general question, I would suggest either Discord or our discussion forum. Yeah, like and subscribe.